between Corey, Natiri, anybody like that. I
just went to the Navy.
I know.
Awesome.
Every time I post anything.
Guys, yeah, let me
Thank you. See you.
But thank you for learning language. I thought that was super cool.
This is Patrick Martel. He is the puppet designer for the show. And this is Carl William. He's the props and set designer for the show. So obviously two very important elements in our show. You guys can come closer. They won't really like you.
Yeah, they will.
So if there's any questions to start off, or I can have them give a brief intro. So you guys want to?
Well, if you have questions, even better, get the conversation going.
How heavy is it?
The Viperwolf puppets are 23 pounds.
Wow. Okay, that's not too bad.
There's a lot of strength and talent to manipulate them.
I mean, well, it's so big though. Like 23 isn't too bad considering
They
that.
look a lot bigger close up.
Yeah.
You know,
That's an arena.
yes.
An arena.
You forget how far off you are.
Yeah. And those characters in the film are actually quite small. They're like a small dog. So for the show, we decided to create them bigger. So they have an impact in that huge space.
It's obviously a height requirement for the actors to select to play.
Well, when we selected the puppeteers, of course height was an issue because they also, we see them, so they have to look a little bit like the navvies. But talent was mostly the most important thing. The shortest is Rock, and he's 5'6", and it has the kind of turned to his advantage. The fact that he's not so tall, but he's very strong, very well built, and he was the first to really get in contact with his puppet because he was closer to it, and now they're all doing it that way, and it really helps the performance.
So maybe I'll just have all of you Paul, if you want to just talk about, at the presentation we've come up a lot about bringing the world of Pandora to the stage. And of course, the size of this stage and the set is new for Cirque and quite striking in general. So you talk a little bit about
Yes, of course. Yeah, it's huge. The first time for Cirque to do is use all the high string. So it's a very huge stage to fill. But it's funny because at the same time, for the world of Pandora and the elements around the film, Patrick just mentioned that the Viperwolf was smaller in the film and we did it big for the space. But my concern was the opposite, because everything is huge on the planet and we have a small space, even if it's huge for a show. It's small for traveling around Pandora and having contact with the home tree, for example, which is a gigantesque tree on Pandora. In the film, if you respect the size of the tree, the arena can fit inside the tree. And we have to do the contrary, fit the tree inside the arena, so it gives us an idea of how we have to play with the scales of everything, puppets, the elements of the planet, the trees, and the ground, and everything. So even the characters are smaller than the film. They are supposed to be 11 feet high, and they are human, of course. So we play also with the scale. We play all the time on this show with the scale. It's interesting.
We're cheating a little bit, but it's part of the fun. It's what makes people in the audience not just have, watch the show. You have to engage and believe. And that's an action thing. Watching a show, if you get engaged in it and if you believe, you're active. You're not just like getting fed. So that's why you tend to feel more emotions and enjoy the performance even better.
And it's not a film. Our work is based on a film, but we are not doing a film. We're doing the same as we saw on screen. So we do a live show. We have to find our own language also, and find and work with the rules also of the live show. It's not the same when you film doing a live show. There is different reality that we have to take into account. It's also part of the challenge to do that.
The design process, I started designing all of the puppets all at once. Started with really rough sketches, and we talked with the introduction to the directors and everyone, and eventually we showed the sketches to Lightstone because they were part of the process. We worked together. They looked at the designs and approved or said, oh, well, maybe this character needs something else, or needs something different. So it was really more communication back and forth for the existing characters in the film, such as the Viperwolf. The communication was quicker because they actually knew what the characters were, and we could take the characters from each and take elements and decide which elements were important and which ones were not so important. But there's also puppets that represent different characters that were not in the film, such as the Alshapis and the Turkey. And instead of the Alshapis, I started with a sketch, and then we showed it, and they said, oh, it's Pandora, but not Pandora enough. So then they showed us like a couple of sketches, knowing that the sketches they were showing could not be, like, you can't take a sketch and just say, this is a, like, make this a puppet. You have to adapt it. You have to adapt it to things that you don't have control over, such as the human body. Because a puppet is nothing without a human body to manipulate it. So a puppeteer has 2 hands, 10 fingers, 2 legs. So we can't modify that, so we have to work with that.
What you do is so stylized. How big of a part does realism play? Realism. How important is developing something about realism?
Yeah, well, it's a big concept because as we just said, we're not doing the film. We don't want to do the film. We want to create something very creation in itself, creation. So just not
Cool.
take this. We have to create
Just like from a creativity
adapt,
standpoint.
elements we see some film
Bet you all know.
like to have motion also, and we have to adapt like the Viperwolf, like many of
Great for Mardi
we
Gras.
have motion because we have reality of limits in physics, real physics
What do you think it's made of?
Earth. So
I don't know.
the realism of
Plastic.
suppose you refer to the film, it's not, there is nothing exactly as a film.
When we see the performance in black puppets, this is a big factor that
When we started creating the puppets, we had that first question, what are we going to do with the puppeteers? When I was a kid, we had shows in what we called in French a castellet, puppet booth, and the puppeteers were hidden behind and they would play with their hands. In this space, that was not really going to be very interesting, to hide the puppeteers. So we said, like, we can hide them a little bit, they can be behind the puppet, they can be sometimes a little inside their puppets, like you saw in the dire horses. But the idea is not to hide them. The idea is to see them, recognize them, and actually feel for the work they're putting into the puppetry. Also, the puppeteers in our show are not just puppeteers. They're what we call the spirits of Ewa. So you know who Ewa is. So it's nature, it's life. So the puppeteers are viewed as the spirits of Ewa. So they're the spirits who bring life, who breathe life into all living things. So this idea alone is really part of the language of what we're saying in the show, that nature is everywhere, everything is linked, and the puppeteers in their job actually represent that very statement that everything is linked. So having puppets in the show and having puppeteers in full view of the audience made total sense.
What are they made of?
Good question. The puppets are made of the most lightweight materials possible.
Okay.
Because the two challengers did like what Todd just said, that there was size and there was the fact that this is real. This is we have to work with gravity. We have to work with real objects and not 3D animated images. So the idea was to find the materials that were as lightweight as possible and building the puppets in a manner where the volumes were going to be big enough, but the weight as little as possible. We have aluminum in there, we have carbon fiber, a lot of carbon fiber for the heads, for example. And we have a kind of foam that is called plastisode. It's a very rigid foam that you can sculpt, you can mold, you can heat, there's many things you can do with that material. And most puppets have a lot of plastisode in them to create the basic shapes. And they're all covered in a fabric that was sublimated, so printed. So most puppets are not painted. There was a fabric design, textile design created, and they were printed with the patterns and then sewn to cover all the puppets. So actually, this one, I was told it was one of the most complicated patterns that was ever done for sublimation at Cirque, because all the different parts had to connect to each other. And like, see, this is one piece, this is another piece, this is a third piece, and the design has to kind of follow. And it looks easy, but when you flatten all that, you can create a huge mess, a gigantic puzzle.
They all have LEDs?
Yeah, these have LED lights in them. So this one, I think the battery here. Oh no, I think it turns to another mode, like they won't flash in the show. So we have LED lights for the lines and the eyes as well. LED lights behind glass balls that have a little filter of color underneath, which creates an effect that's I think really powerful.
Yeah.
So the puppeteers, when they work with the puppets, they have one hand in the body
Cool.
and one hand holding the head. And most of the time they will try to make one with the puppet. So they will take it very close to their own bodies and they work in line with the creature like that. So this hand manipulates the head, the mouth, the neck, and also the body, because of course there's a lot of that going on. So it's really like a dance. You really have to create the illusion of movement with the two arms you have. You have to manipulate 6 legs, a head, a tail, a body. So it's a lot of work for one puppeteer. And they're as light as possible, but it's quite heavy, so they need to be top shape when they are.
Uh-oh.
Any other questions about puppets?
Are the ponytails gonna play a part in the?
Sorry?
Are the ponytails gonna play a part in the show? The ponytails, the novel.
Yeah.
So here's the bird.
Our next
Yeah.
stop is
When you see with costume, then you will actually see them. But they're part of the scenario at some point.
Well, was it in the preview that we saw? You see him trying to kind of link with the horses a bit. Yeah.
So that's one moment where they're trying to escape, maybe trying to see if they can connect with a dire horse.
Yeah.
doesn't happen.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Handle work.
We're on our way to wardrobe, but I do
Wardrobe, best one.